sensitive areas. It could even be like just when I was reasoning earlier with brethren about Rasta going beyond the Bible.
The Bible, yes.
And because I know obviously.
So how do you see the Bible? Is the Bible something that you embrace? Do you use the Bible to explain or to justify your existence?
The Bible, I do not use it as my reference point to justify my existence. I don't think spirituality, particularly African spirituality, can be bound in any one book. Yeah, I think there's many different sources that we can go as reference. And again, we need to. This is where it's really important as well that we are in contact with those on the continent. Yeah, and that we're connecting with our brothers and sisters on the continent and seeing what they're doing as well. So we've got that full oneness. So I think when you're using the Bible, we need to understand, certainly in Rasta, why it was used at the time. Because remember, that's the same book that the white man gave us and took whip over us and beat out of us. So how is it we can still be using this book in the 21st century? How is it we can still be believing these myths and these stories in the Bible? If someone told you a burning bush could speak to someone now, would you believe it? If someone told you a man could live in a well, would you believe that today? So
what about with books like, when I noticed that brother did ask you a question concerning books like Proverbs, and have you ever read books like Proverbs, and because again it's a continual subject, and again, do you recollect your response to that when if I ask you, can you say, well, obviously, because I think he was trying to say in an indirect kind of way, I think he kind of knew that the book was still an incomplete book. But he made reference, to a particular book called Proverbs, as to what Proverbs were.
Well, that's even within itself. If you're saying it's incomplete, because so many people say to the Bible, well, they believe one thing, but they don't believe the other thing. So if you believe one thing, you don't believe the other thing, how do you know the whole book's not correct? Yeah. So,
well, it's so true. Well, this is why people don't know. This is why people have to understand the difference between what is a belief.
Yes.
And what is it
and it's so important in this book, The Rise of Rastafari, when I talk about Haile Selassie, I said because there's a lot of books on Rastafari which just can only validate Haile Selassie through the Bible. And this is when I was mentioning a specific organisation I'm not going to mention to the brethren earlier, and this is why I feel, because what they use is just the Bible to validate Haile Selassie, whereas to me, that is a travesty, because the works that Haile Selassie has done, as a man and as an emperor of Ethiopia, to me, Haile Selassie, again, he's beyond God in that perspective. Much beyond this concept of God.
The history is best qualified to reward all research.
It's like Haile Selassie. We've got documentaries, we've got DVD, we got audio, we've got his speeches, we've got his autobiography. We've got so much different sources where we can use. Why do I need to go back into this book, the Bible, which he said himself, which had nothing to do with him? So all the sources that we've got, so the achievements that Haile Selassie did as a Pan-African, as someone who modernized Ethiopia, it's so important that how we look at, and that concept of seeing God within our own image as a man, saying that me and you is God, that if you want to see God, you don't have to look at anything else but the mirror and see yourself.
No, I think it's a beautiful vibration, because like I said, that is a beautiful vibration, because sometimes we end up leaving what we know and go follow blind faith. It's a message, and yet, like I said, when we answer Isaiah of the King earlier on, we were saying the schools, the university, the technical colleges, the systems, and the infrastructures His Majesty put in place. His message in keeping a nation and in protecting their sovereignty as a people. It's a message because oftentimes people talk about blueprint. His Majesty set the black print. It's a message, the ultimate message is how to keep your sovereignty. It's a message, my lord.
And can I just say as well, I think with young people, we need to realise that, the elders need to realise that we need to move on and we need to evolve, and things always evolve. Just like how Rastas in the 70s or the 60s, they evolved in certain areas and they're different. Like I mentioned, for example, in the 30s and the 40s, the locks wasn't as prominent, but then it evolved into it.
Yes.
So, and we can see how things have evolved, like the dietary laws, that it wasn't there at the start, but it's evolved into the Ayatul Liberty. Yes. So we need to understand how things evolve differently. Now, I'm not going to stick to...
What about principles and concepts? Do certain principles change, and do certain concepts change with that because we notice sometimes people get... besides a lot of people get confused sometimes. We see a development, it's a message, and an evolution, especially in technology.
Well, this is why I would say in the principles, in terms of, certainly in Rastafari, the principles need to come through, because my fear is that, and I explain in this book, either people get caught up in the validation of Haile Selassie through the Bible perspective, or they get carried away in the culture, the liberty too much. Whereas whether it's, say for example, the dreadlocks, the ayatel, the ganja. Now I'm not saying to a man not to do that, but I'm saying to you, the Pan-African element, the need for African people to reclaim themselves, the need for us to see the king or God in our own image, the need for us to be self-sufficient, to rely on ourselves, to go back to Africa, to build a nation. These are the core principles of Rastafari, regardless of what a man's got on his head, regardless of how he's validated. It was Rastafari came about because there was a need to fight a system of white supremacy, which is oppressing the people and is still oppressing people today.
Beautiful vibration.
That is what Rastafari is.
Oh man, tell them man, what a beautiful vibration. That's it. You must come to fight against oppression, because you know, say, as you can hear it and you can see it and you can see, because sometimes people still are persecute Rastafari, fight Rastafari, oppress Rastafari. Are you one of them? We say whole time, you know, we say, because look on the time and it's youth, you know, full with the African Holy Spirit, you know, as I say, you know.
And that's why you have, this is why you have people that claim that the white Rastas don't come in the movement, because when they don't look at it from a Pan-African perspective, and they look at it from a Bible perspective, and they look at it from a liberty perspective, and a culture, and they can't see no Pan-African element to it, then they can't see the colour. They can't see this is an African,
the identity,
African identity.
Yes.
That the reason why we look to Haile Selassie, because he was an African person.
African
so
king,
you can't get rid of that
Emperor.
Pan-African element that stands first and foremost in Rastafari.
Yeah man, give thanks and praises.